Alright guys, hey, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to Gaming Compute. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Today's tidbits episode clip is going to be about saving and savings. So this is a weird time to be talking about this topic, guys, because a lot of us are in this weird position. A lot of people were laid off, or jobs were ended, or weren't able to work, or were using, or trying to get, or were able to get some form of government assistance during this time, or stimulus, or something, right? But saving has been one of those things that, in crisis times, or even certain times of the year, especially like the end of the year, like, Halloween's coming up, Halloween 2021, and it's not Halloween yet, but at least when I'm recording this, it's not. But, it's after Halloween is kind of like this whole series of holidays. I mean, not everybody celebrates them, not everybody cares. Not everybody spends a lot of money, but traditionally in Western American culture, this time of year is usually a time when people are spending, splurging, spoiling others, showing their love language by giving, gifts and, spending quality time with people. And sometimes that might involve traveling, which in turn can cost some money. So a lot of times people aren't necessarily saving this time of year, as well as, during the middle of a Rona situation like this one, saving isn't really where people are trying to be. A lot of times they're trying to make money and pay their bills, but you can still save at the same time, and it's still important. I would never advise people don't ever save, even if it's just a change that you have, when you buy something. If you're paying cash and you have change left over, I would still say that can be incredibly important, because you'll just still have money that you can use. So all that being said, there are common methods that people use for saving, right? And one that, if people have never heard this before, if you haven't, one that people kind of forget to do or avoid doing, or are a bit slow at doing, is saving money by what is called investing in yourself first, paying yourself first. So what this means is, if I get paid tomorrow, on Saturday, I don't know, if I get paid tomorrow, and say if my paycheck is, let's keep it easy, $1,000, say if I get paid every 2 weeks, that amount of money, that's after taxes and everything, for some odd reason, maybe it's a straight up $1,000, right? And I mean, we're not even looking at all the breakdowns of categories that a person's necessarily using yet, but just say, for example, how you would pay yourself first would be, you just set aside an amount of money. Now, usually this should require a form of, learning and studying your own finances, and not necessarily just setting aside whatever amount. I would say if a person's going to do it that way, then likely put it somewhere where you can get to it easily. So for example, and I'm not recommending Citibank, but I've had in the recent past, a Citibank account. It offered, what did it offer? It offered a checking and a savings account, right? Two separate accounts. And to be eligible for this, I had to have a certain amount of a direct deposit within however many days of opening the account, and then I got these accounts. And the reason why I opened a Citibank account is because I wanted the checking and savings, and I wanted a bank that was nearby me, near stores that I usually go to, gas stations and things like that. I wanted a bank that had an ATM outside. And strangely, ever since I've even gotten the bank, I've never gone inside a branch of a Citibank, but I didn't want fees. So they do charge fees if you don't use your, I don't remember if it's like your card or something, or if you don't keep money in it. Like if you're just not using it, you can't just let it sit there, because what'll happen, say if you have a $0 amount in your account, it's going to charge you a service fee every month. And it's like it's less than $7. It's $6 something. And then on top of that, if you had no money, once you're negative $6 something, you're going to then have a charge of over $30 for not having the sufficient funds. So that's already almost $40 just for never using your account every month. Which, yeah, the only way to avoid that is to deposit, I think it's like $10,000 or some like super large amount of money. If you have that amount of money in there, then you can just let it sit. And you have to think about why banks do these things, right? Like if you have a certain amount of money in your bank like that, I mean, I think they're making money off of this too. Kind of same thing with loan companies too. I think I noticed this with like student loans when I went to a school that I felt like was doing something shady with their student loans, and they would hold the money for a really long time. It's like you could see in your whatever portal you logged into, you could see when your money was posted, when the school got it, or when it was approved, all the kind of processes. And then the school would have it, and then your bills for school still wouldn't be getting paid. And it's like, are they just like holding it for a month to like gain interest on it or something? That was kind of my kind of take. I mean, I couldn't ever verify that. I had no access to their accounts, but that to me kind of made sense. It's like, well, if you're having all these students with like thousands of dollars, why wouldn't you hold it for a month and get like however much extra $1,000? Like that's like in a quarter system, that's 3 times a year at a school, and then like maybe a summer session, maybe 4 times a year that you're getting, all of your students who have financial aid, you're getting all of their interest on the loans, if it's grad plus loans even, or whatever. So if you have access to something like that, I mean, where you're getting large chunks of money that you can afford to hold in an account that gains interest after a certain amount of time, and you're not losing a lot of money, and it's not inconvenient for you, and you can access your money whenever you need to, that could be a method that you could use for saving money, because you're getting extra money, you're not using the money. It's just, if it just sits there in cash in your house, that's not going to do any good, right? If you put it somewhere where it's growing at least, and you're not losing while it's growing, and then you just do what you need to do to use it, at least you've made some kind of money. So say if you made like 10% on $1,000, that's $100. I mean, if there's an account like that you have, you could easily, and I don't know of any accounts that just like 10% interest, but I mean, there are a lot of accounts that you can gain a lot of interest through, like KuCoin lending. Now, this is one of those things I'm going to mention, and again, I always have to say this, I'm not a financial advisor. This is a hobby of mine. I'm learning as I go. I'm a student. I'm talking into a microphone and my cell phone in my car. I am not your financial advisor. this is not financial advice. This is just information. It's called tidbits. It's just tidbits of information that I've come across that people do that I'm compiling into one larger topic altogether. So another, I do have a KuCoin account. I'll admit that I do invest in crypto, but it's actually through Coinbase. I was using Robinhood previously, and then I transferred. I have everything in Coinbase. And then KuCoin in lending is one method that people use to gain, because basically you're lending out of your own account. So you'll have to look into this more, because this is something I just came across this week and then learned a little more about it today. But someone who posted 2 days ago mentioned that KuCoin lending gives you up to 11%. I don't know how often that is. 11% interest. So if that's monthly, I don't know if it's daily or monthly or what, but over whatever their time period is, KuCoin can provide 11%. So if I had $1,000 in there and was lending all of the $1,000, I'm not sure if this is based on what I'm invested in, if it's growing or not, or if it's growing or not in the other person's account. The way it sounds to me is that if I'm lending $1,000, I'll get 11% on that, which would be $110. But that amount of funds would be tied up, and I couldn't use it. So it would be as if I physically took that money and was lending it out to other people. I couldn't just come back and be like, yo, I need my money before the date that, it's supposed to be due back to me. Like, it's a lending system. So you can become a lender on there. I've heard it's a 9-click process on KuCoin. Now, again, if you're using crypto for this, look into it, read it. Don't just hear this thing on here and just go and do it. Don't do that. Don't freaking do that. Look into it more, because a lot of times people get excitable and they're just like, oh, that sounds good. I need the money. Let me do it. I want to get like $110 like every however many days. But I don't know if that's the exact number we're looking at. So don't go throw $1,000 in there. Don't go opening an account and buying a bunch of stuff if you don't know what's going to happen, or if you have to have a minimum to even be in the lending account option, or I don't know. So just don't do it until you know for sure for yourself. But best case scenario, if that is the case, then that would be an option. That would be a method, not necessarily even just KuCoin, but any way that you can put money somewhere, even if it's shorter term, even if it's like a 30 to 60 to 90 day period, and if it grows, that money that's invested, if you just chop that off the top, that can go into a savings account. Or you can, one way that I kind of prefer saving, and this is my own personal preference, is not keeping things in a saving account where it does nothing, but keeping things in multiple accounts. So having a savings account where it's, like I was saying, like Citibank, you're not getting that much extra money unless you put in that much money, but really it's not that much interest just sitting there. They really, for the common person, if you're not making all that much money, if you're like in the 50K ish or so range of annual income, Citibank's probably not going to do it for you unless you have a big chunk of change to kind of sit in there. But they really don't have a good interest amount. I don't really like them. You can kind of tell. There are so many freer, cooler kind of bank accounts out there that are newer and seem a lot better that you should be able to use that I think are pretty fabulous compared to Citibank. Citibank's good if you like convenience, familiarity, something that's been around a long time. But if you're trying to like be strategic about things, it's really not one of the better banks. At least if you're going to keep your money somewhere and not use an account, you don't want them taking money from you and then charging you like service fees and things. So, yeah. So that's one thing to kind of consider. Like, I know that's not like a lot of detailed information, but this is in tidbits. So I'm trying to keep these short, but I hope this makes sense that, you know, you can put your money places where it grows. Even if it's making a podcast and that money that you make from CPMs is your savings and then you're reinvesting that. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, sometimes people like their savings to be accessible. For me, it helps to have a portion of my savings accessible to me. That's money I can use. And then other parts of it, like what's in my retirement, is something that I don't really touch. Like if I do decide to like get a house or something like that, I'd probably go, you know, maybe use a residential loan out of there if I needed to. I'm not like planning on doing that, but I'm just saying like that would be an option. There are things that I would consider. So yeah. And just think about that though. You know, you want to diversify you want to diversify your portfolio. If you're totally broke, I mean, you know, it might help to do something to get yourself in a position where you can handle at least your basics, but you can still think about saving stuff or cutting back if you can, like safely and responsibly. But check out the KuCoin lending option. 11% sounds good, right? I mean, most banks don't give you that much back, but again, I'm not sure if it's based on like how the market's doing too. I'm not sure about that. So that's why I'm saying like you want to look into it more, because I mean, if you drop $1,000 or however much money in something and then it's not, you know, profitable, and then that money's on hold and now you have $1,000 that you can't even use and you don't even know what's going to happen with it. I mean, that's not ideal. But it's an option. And these are little options. It's just a little option that you can use. So think about it, consider it, try to understand it, see if it appeals to you. I hope that that's valuable information, and thanks for listening.